Hey, it's Marshall Fike, and this is video lesson number 2. I watched a video on adapting to your judge. It's about a 40-minute video, and so I'm going to talk about like the different types of judges and the different ways that you can adapt to your judge. So, first thing you need to know is that there are 3 main types of judges. So the first one is lay judge. These are people like parents or teachers that don't really know anything about debate, and the way you have to appeal to them is with speaking and making sure that they understand. Like you can't use the same jargon that you do when you're with a college judge. You have to explain things to them. A traditional judge. Is somebody who knows the rules of debate, maybe did debate a long time ago, but has been out of the judging circuit and hasn't really dealt with debate for a while. So the main things they're focused on are, again, good speaking, but also good philosophy and good analytics, good analytical arguments, making sure that you have good philosophy in the debate. And then lastly, there's flow judges, and these are people like college judges who know a lot about debate and are really snobby about like dropping standards for your topicality and stuff like that. They're also known as progressive judges. And so what you need to do with them is ask for paradigms and just adjust from their paradigms, knowing what they like, essentially. So for the main part of this video, we're going to be going over, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 6 ways that you can adapt to your judge. The first one is differentiating your judges, kind of ways you can tell the differences between your judges. So if they're a lay judge, they're going to be flowing on like a notebook or maybe a legal pad. Traditionally, we see traditional or lay judges doing this on a notebook or legal pad, and then if they have flow paper, that's going to be a flow judge or a college judge. And then also you want to pay attention to what they're flowing. So if they're flowing things like good speaking skills, then you can tell they're a lay judge. If you make a good catchphrase and they write something down, and that's the only thing they write down during your speech, then you know that's what's important. If they're writing down everything, then you know that they're probably a college judge. Or if they're writing down the good philosophies, the good analytics, then you can tell they're a traditional judge. So next is changing jargon. So this is essentially just changing your speech from like solvency and harms, because some lay judges don't really know what that means. You don't have to change it for college judges, obviously, but words like turn, then you can say, if this is true, then it works for my side, and as well as their side. To extend your evidence is to remember. The card you can refer to as evidence. Solvency you can refer to as solve the problem. And impact you can say result. Let's see. So next to cross-ex. So again, this is really important to lay judges because this is the only time that they really get to see the two debaters clash directly, and this is what they think of when they're coming into a debate round. They think that debate is all about the direct clash between two individuals and not about and not necessarily about speech after speech, because that's boring to them. So you want to be able to develop good cross-ex skills, and this might sometimes be the winning factor. Alright, somebody's coming up. Alright, so you want to ask more inquisitive questions and less clarification questions about evidence and stuff, because if you ask clarification questions, it's going to make you seem less credible, like you didn't understand what they're saying. But if you ask inquisitive questions, it's going to make you seem like you're in charge, and it's going to make you more credible. You want to also start out with a great opening question, so that way the judge has something to think about. Don't get really aggressive because this makes you seem uncredible again, and don't go over time because lay judges think that all the time things in debate should be exact, and you shouldn't go over them. So it seems unprofessional to a lay judge if you go over time on cross-ex. Analogies and examples can really make, that's the next part, they can make crazy arguments seem really logical, so you want to give tangible impacts to the judge that relate to them. And if your opponent brings up examples, you want to bring up counter-examples. The important thing with analogies and logic is you want to use cool catchphrases that the judge will definitely remember, so they have something to stick in their mind. On rebuttals, the last minute of your rebuttals, you want to put down your computer and your flows, and you want to open your speech with a prepared statement, a really strong statement about why you should win the debate. Like, I'm going to go over my two arguments that will win the debate, or whatever. It's obviously going to be better than that. But in the last minute, you want to put down your computer and flows and talk directly to the judge and explain to them why you have won the debate. You want to keep your framework simple in your plan. That's just a side note. And then dressing is obviously important to lay judges. Girls, apparently power suits are a thing. And guys, you want to wear your coat in front of lay judges. And apparently red indicates conceptual dominance. So if you have a red tie or a red dress, then that would be preferred as to any other color. But yeah, that's basically it. The problems I had with the video, this is the second part of the video. The problems I had with it is some of the changing jargon part of the video, where they said, like, solvency solved the problem. I feel like you have to explain that more than just saying solve the problem, because solvency is really more, if you're on the neg, judge they don't have any solvency. To a lay judge, you would have to say there's no way that they can solve this problem because of the evidence that we've brought up, not that just solving the problem. And you have to do this like harms. Obviously you can come up with ones for harms, but you really have to explain those better than what they did in the video. They did some really cheesy things in the video. Differentiating between judges, I thought that was kind of sketchy, because they said legal pad or notebook would be a traditional or lay judge, but like if I were flowing, I would use a legal pad or a notebook, and I know the rules of debate, so that's definitely not a defining factor. And they said that you're supposed to flow vertically, and maybe that's just us that flow vertically, but I know I flow vertically, and if you see me flowing I flow horizontally, and if you see me flowing horizontally and you assume that I'm a traditional or lay judge, you can't assume that, because I would be a flow judge. So those are a couple things that just didn't seem correct to me. Otherwise it was really good. So I'm gonna record my example of this separately. So bye for now. Alright, so this is going to be my rebuttal for my 1NR for a STEM case. I'm doing this to demonstrate how you can be relatable to a judge, essentially. So yeah. Alright. Judge, there are 3 reasons why you're going to be voting on the negative side today. First of all, you're going to be voting on topicality. Basically, topicality is a way that you have to follow the laws of debate, the rules of debate in the resolution. So the resolution is that the United States should substantially increase its funding for primary and or secondary education, and they have to follow every word of that. So topicality is attacking specific words in that, and we chose substantial. And we've proved that they're not substantial because substantial means more than 20%, and they're not increasing their funding in relation to the federal education budget by more than 20%. So that's why we went on topicality, is because they're not following the rules of debate. So the second reason that you'll be voting nay today is because of the fraud DA. So I extended this in my last speech. I added on, or do you remember my impacts from that? But basically, what the result of that was that people's money are going to be stolen. So imagine if your taxpayer money is going to the government and they're going to be using it for things like education, but then that just gets stolen by people. How are you going to feel about that? How are you going to feel about that? So I brought up my evidence saying that the money is going to be stolen, and they didn't respond to this. So we can assume that if we pass their plan, then your taxpayer money is going to be stolen. Do you really want that to happen? The third reason you're going to be voting neg today is because of the Kansas on Steroids DA. Again, they didn't answer this in their last speech. So I'm going to read another impact to this. It's all about how Trump's tax reforms would make the rich richer, the middle class poorer, and damage the world economy from summer 17. Since I don't have time, I'm not actually going to read this card. But essentially, how this would impact you, what would be the result of this DA if you pass their plan? It's going to result in Trump passing major tax cuts, and there's going to be major tax cuts to things like education. And do you really want your children to have a really bad education? After all, we already are in Kansas, and we already do. Some schools do get a bad education. So do you really want to make it worse for your kids? Tax cuts are also going to make, as I said, the rich richer, the middle class poorer, and damage the world economy. So if you're a middle class judge, then this is going to affect you very harshly. So the third reason, so basically, their case is like a bathtub, and each of the stock issues, so solvency, inherency, harms, etc., somebody's going to be coming into, are each drains, and my partner pulled out all of those drains. Okay. Sorry, another interruption. But so for a quick analogy, each of the stock issues are drains, and my partners pulled out all of those drains, and since they haven't answered my arguments, my DA, my topicality, and my other DA are like bombs on a bathtub, and their bathtub is the plan. And since we just completely blew their plan up, essentially. So here's why you're going to be voting for the neg team today. So they're not following the rules of debate as we explained in our substantially. They're not being substantial enough, so you can't pass their plan. And if you vote for them, then it's going to be hurting the education of debate, and you're going to allow the affirmative team to break the rules of debate. The second reason is that if we pass their plan, you're going to see this fraud DA, the result of this fraud, go into impact, and your taxpayer money is going to be stolen. And the third reason is that these tax cuts are going to be passed if their plan is also passed. And surely you don't want these tax cuts to pass because it will affect your children and also you personally. So, Judge, I thank you for your time, and that was all. So just a quick summary of what I did. So essentially, I started off with a statement. I said, Judge, there are 3 reasons you will be voting aye today. And then I went structured first of all on T. I explained what topicality is. I went to the fraud DA, explained how it would affect the judge, and I used things like result instead of impact and evidence instead of card. And then I did the same thing on the Kansas on steroids DA. I said the result and how it would specifically affect the judge. And then I went into my analogy, which the judge can relate to. And then for the last 30 seconds or so, I talked straight to the judge on why they should vote nay.